Many villagers are feared dead, with several others injured after a military airstrike targeting Lakurawa terrorists in Silame local government area of Sokoto State mistakenly bombed 2 communities. The affected villages, Gidan, Sama and Rumtuwa, are located near the Surame forest, a known hideout for Lakurawa terrorists and other armed groups. The incident reportedly occurred around 7 a.m. on Wednesday. Local sources claim over 10 villagers were killed, while several others sustained varying degrees of injuries. Abubakar Datarana, chairman of Silame local government area, confirmed the airstrike, stating that they are still assessing the extent of the damage. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Air Force has denied allegations of bombing innocent communities in Sokoto State. Responding to inquiries, the Director of Public Relations and Information, Air Vice Marshal Olushola Akimboyowa, says the airstrikes were conducted based on credible intelligence from multiple sources and confirmatory aerial surveillance. He adds that reports of possible harm to civilians will be thoroughly investigated, with the media updated. Also, the Joint Task Force Northwest Operation Fansan Nyama says the target struck the vicinity of Gidan, Sama and Rumtuwa positively identified as being associated with the Lakurawa group, reinforcing the justification for the military action taken. The military is calling on Nigerians to rely on confirmed information from the military to prevent misinformation and unnecessary panic. The task force alleges that there is a significant risk that terrorist groups may attempt to undermine military successes through media disinformation, necessitating caution concerning unverified claims, especially in the ongoing fight against terrorism and banditry. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede, has urged troops of Operation Hadinkai to intensify their efforts to end the insurgency troubling the nation. He made the call during a Christmas lunch with the troops of Operation Hadinkai in Maiduguri at Mai Malari Cantonment. The Army Chief says the visit aims to assess the state of troops and boost their morale in the ongoing efforts to combat insurgency within the nation. Oluyede lauded the troops for the recent successes recorded in the fight against terrorism in the Northeast Theatre of Operation.
To the theatre was for me to come and see my officers and soldiers, assess their state of readiness, and charge them to do more so that we can find a way of ending insurgency within this region. That was the essence of my first visit. Now to my second visit, which is today. You know, ordinarily, these are soldiers in the field who are sacrificing their utmost to defend Nigeria. And ordinarily, they will have been with their families. So it's just for them to have this sense of belonging, that we appreciate what they are doing and that we are proud of them. That's why we have come to felicitate with them today on this very special occasion of Christmas. And to tell them we appreciate their sacrifices.
The Christmas luncheon availed the Chief of Army Staff the opportunity to commemorate and celebrate the spirit of Christmas with troops of Operation Hadinkai, especially the Christian faithfuls who are very far away from their families. The Christmas luncheon also provides us with an opportunity to foster comradeship and reflect on why we are here, as well as recount our collective achievements and challenges over the past year. The Chief of Army Staff, sir, your return to the theatre within a short span of 3 weeks to personally spend time with us underscores your unwavering commitment to the welfare and morale of troops of Operation Hadinkai.
All right, Rufai, your take on this. First, on the mistaken bombing, according to some reports, and the spokesperson of the Air Force saying that it's disinformation and perhaps they need to clarify a few things. And of course, then the boosting, the morale boosting by the Chief of Army Staff or troops on the front line. Your take on these stories?
Ayo, the other day when President Tinubu was saying that, no need to probe the military, and I said no. You can see answer to my assertions that day. That despite the fact that we appreciate the fact that the military does a good job at keeping us together and fighting our enemies, you still need to probe them. But I'm not surprised that the military has responded by saying it's disinformation. Ayo, history doesn't lie. When RAN happened, that was exactly how people first denied it, that it ever happened. When the international community, likes of Médecins Sans Frontières and the likes, said they saw over 70 casualties when Iran happened in 2017, there was massive denial. Until when the facts started to come out, they said yes. In fact, they never fully agreed. They just said, oh, it was a tragic event, we'll investigate. Till today, results of investigation, penalties meted up, nothing has happened. Ayo, in this case, the local government chairman has already said they are assessing what is happening in the area. Spokespeople, even APC stalwarts, are already going on condolence visits in the area. People are already in the hospital as a result of the injury. But the forces are still saying nothing happened. So it's not a new thing. The first mode of response is the first denial. It's when there's now overwhelming evidence, people start to partially agree of some sort. But what I'm more concerned about are about the lives lost. Is there a way we can mitigate occurrences like this? Because it's one too many. It's not today we are always having these missed strikes. I'm not saying the military should not face Lakurawa. And in fact, I commend them on their great job on Lakurawa. But I also feel appalled that citizens have to die. How can we do our reconnaissance job effectively to be able to avoid things like that? Because those citizens that had to die, they died because they were Nigerians and they were caught when bombings were happening. And over the years, we don't take responsibility and accountability for these things. So it repeats itself again. In fact, when the one in Iran happened, some Freedom of Information paper that revealed that the Americans even gave some, surveillance support and all of that. So how are we going to ensure that we are totally going to mitigate occurrences like this when it happens again? People on ground have been speaking. They've talked about the injuries. They talked about the casualty. Chairman of the local government has also said they are assessing the damage in the area. People also there have been quoted to have spoken to different sources. But I'm not surprised that the military people are denying. The question is, when investigations will be had and probe will be had on this matter, what will be the outcome? Because we live in a country where nothing comes out of the outcome. Till today, Ayo, if I ask you, because today now, police officers are arresting people that probably organized events that they were stampeded all over the country. I hear they also arrested some people. In fact, the Catholic bishop in Abuja was talking about they called them some priests for investigation. They claimed they arrested them, just like they arrested people in Oyo. The question is, Ayo, when government was selling cheap rice for people by the customs, and there was a stampede that led to people's death, which people were arrested? What's the outcome of the investigation to date? When it happens in government regard, till today, the immigration something, Dr. Abati, were in government then. The immigration something, what happened? What's the investigation? What happened? So when it happens to government side, they pad it up. When it happens to people, they discipline. I'm not saying we shouldn't discipline people, but let's get to the root of this matter.
All right. Dr. Abati.
Okay. Well, I think it's as follows. The first thing is that, one, the military, in terms of their operations, do not differentiate between when it's Christmas, when it's normal day. They are perpetually on duty. So whether it's Christmas Day that the armed forces decided to go after the Lakurawa group or not, it's neither here nor there. So the soldiers don't go on Christmas vacation. That is the truth. And that is why yesterday you had in the case of Russia-Ukraine, Zelensky was complaining about an attack on Ukraine on Christmas Day. And there were complaints about other attacks in various parts of the world. To still be in the spirit of Christmas, Christmas Day was a day of mixed feelings, mixed reactions for a lot of people. In London, central London, someone went to a party, he ended up, killing people and injuring himself with life-threatening conditions in central London. I think the location is called Shaftesbury. I hope I got that pronunciation wrong, or right, rather, I mean. Now, that same yesterday, there was a plane crash in Kazakhstan, a plane traveling from Baku in Azerbaijan to, Grozny in the Chechen region of the Republic. But it ended up, going over the Caspian Sea. It went up in flames. It crashed. So yesterday was not exactly a very happy day for many people in the world. Now, to go back quickly to the question about Nigeria. Now, the Labarakua, or what do they call them, they've been a major problem. There's something in military operations that is called collateral damage. There may have been collateral damage involving the killing of 10 persons. The military, they say they are investigating what happened. The military spokesman says, oh, they acted based on active intelligence. Now, one of the issues we have had to deal with in this country has had to do with the intelligence, expertise of the Nigerian military. They have failed us time and again in the past. And the main reason we're concerned about that is because of the humanitarian, disaster implications of their operations. They will say they are operating somewhere, and then communities will be wiped out. Communities will be affected. As has now happened in the Sulame local government area of Sokoto State, in Runtawa and Gedamruma, communities in that axis. I think it's very unfortunate. And I think that a big lesson from this is that the armed forces need to constantly upgrade their technological efficiency. We're in the world of artificial intelligence. We're in the world of technological competence. So they cannot keep coming to us all the time and they say, oh, we are bombing targets in Sokoto associated with Lakurawa. The principle in the law of armed conflict, there is a subject called law of armed conflict, international human rights law, is to reduce the damage to persons who are not involved in the conflict. It's a very simple principle that the Nigerian armed forces should try to understand. How do you minimize, aggression towards persons who are not involved in the conflict? Innocent persons, innocent women, innocent children. And this is the same issue that the United Nations has been talking about, not just with the Syria Observation Human Rights Observatory, but also the United Nations Human Rights Commission, and in other parts of the world, whether in Central Europe or Africa or, anywhere else, Asia, that people who are not involved in conflict deserve to be protected. It's a simple principle that I think the Nigerian armed forces should explain to themselves, because it doesn't take much intelligence to understand some of these points. It's unfortunate that persons have died, but we don't have a worse situation on our hands. Nobody should die, least of all on Christmas Day.
Yes, very sad Christmas, Black Christmas in Sokoto State, and I'm really sorry about the deaths that occurred, especially according to people on ground who have said civilians lost their lives, contrary to reports from the military where they say that people should be careful about this information and that this is part of the terrorists' scheme to reduce confidence in the military by spreading information about the fact that the military was bombing Nigerian citizens themselves. First of all, let me dial back to 2 weeks ago. At a meeting with the president, the chief of army staff, Oluyede, had come out to say that he was actually targeting Lakurawa. He had said that, and the This Day newspaper took that story, that Lakurawa terror group will soon be history. That was part of the outcome of that meeting. So he had already sent a warning out 2 weeks ago that they were very serious about targeting terrorists whom they've identified based on intelligence in that area in Sokoto State. However, as we've seen in the past, and this is not the first time, sadly, where errors like this have occurred, what the military is insisting on is that following their investigation, the sites that were identified, I believe that the places where they bombed were actually, they had terrorists in that area, and that sometimes civilians would fraternize with some of the terrorists, and in the process, when they're targeting such areas, get killed in the process as collateral damage. Again, this is a stance of the military. They are maintaining that they did follow due process according to their reports. Now, this would be easy to assimilate or perhaps believe if this incident hasn't occurred in the past. We've seen situations like this where villagers who are going about their normal duties on a day like this, early morning Christmas Day, are then uprooted or upset by military action. And sometimes it's mind-boggling to understand why this will happen, because what the military continues to claim is that they have intelligence, they have the technological equipment to carry out these, these operations, but then we continue to see things like this, and that's why it's important to highlight it. It would be great to still get a broader, more detailed investigation into this matter, so that we don't just sweep it under the carpet as, oh no, we've done our due diligence. It is the terrorists trying to, through propaganda, trying to discredit the military by saying that we're bombing Nigerians. It's important for an investigation, an independent investigation, to be carried out to understand why this happens. Well, we appreciate the military's efforts, we really do, and we talk about this a lot on this show. They work hard, whether people are off celebrating Christmas or not. They are the forefront and front line fighting and defending the Nigerian territory and against terrorists. But it's also important that in the discharge of their duties, they don't kill Nigerian citizens. It's anti what it is that they are there to do. So it's important that an investigation is carried out and to understand why this incident keeps occurring in order to prevent future occurrences before becoming very defensive. Now, in addition to that, on the other side, the other story around the Chief of Army Staff saying that, going to the troops. He had done this 2 weeks ago, visited the Hadinkai, Operation Hadinkai, just to give them some moral support. And this is important. Yesterday, we praised the president's speech, the president's Christmas message, saying that it was great that he paid tribute to the military, because we understand, as we often advocate for the military on this show, that they lack morale. There's a lot of encouragement. There's a lot of welfare issues that they have currently. And part of what the Chief of Army Staff said during his meeting with the president was that he was looking to improve boosting the morale of the troops. And so what he did yesterday was quite significant. It's important that whilst they're out there on Christmas Day, whilst others are enjoying family time, that they have enough time to also spend with the military. We can criticize them a lot and give them constructive feedback, but there's also a time to pat them on the back, because we understand that the Nigerian military are one of the most, in terms of training, excellent in the discharge of their duties, and hard worked under some of the harshest conditions. And so it's important that we continue to boost their morale despite the shortcomings that they must have. So we pay tribute to them this morning. It is great that the Chief of Army Staff is leading the charge by going out to meet with them. It's a big morale booster. I hope in terms of doing that, he will also look into the welfare issues that we have highlighted a number of times for the military. Look into the equipping of our troops to ensure that they have modern equipment, that they are well kitted when they go out to the front lines to battle Nigerian enemies. But all in all, investigation must happen. And number two, we encourage our military. Well done. Merry Christmas to you all. And thank you for serving the nation.